Since the dawn of humanity, our obsession as a species has been to live longer, to live forever. Ancient myths, from the Fountain of Youth to the Qing Emperor's quest for the elixir of immortality, echo this longing for more time. Time to love, to conquer. Today, myth has given way to science, but the pursuit remains. I remember 10 years ago, I stood on the TEDx stage just like this to give a talk on precision medicine and cancer care. And for some cancers, it worked. Our patients who we thought would live months lived years. But over time, I realized trying to prolong my patient's life after the cancer, after the disease, after the fact, it was an inadequate approach at best. So I thought to myself, how do we change that? I changed my focus and asked myself these two questions. One, how do we prevent the disease from happening in the first place? And two, how do we extend not only how long we live, but how long we stay truly healthy? You see, in the past decade, science has come a long ways, and we're on the brink of possessing the expertise and the cutting-edge tools to truly slow down aging and extend health span, possibly beyond 100 years or more, even reach that elusive 120-year mark in the near future. So today I work in the field of longevity medicine, and I provide such services to ultra-high net worth individuals in China. Now, let me be clear. You don't have to be a billionaire to live a long, healthy life. Anybody can do it. All right. So today I will share with you guys the current and upcoming breakthroughs and technologies in longevity medicine and science, as well as the practical steps that you can take to redefine your aging journey. Now, before we get into that, I want to lay down a few underlying premises. As you can see, we have come a long way. In the past 100 years or so, we have more than doubled our life expectancy. In places like Shanghai and Hong Kong, the average is now 80 years old. Now, let me ask you something. What do you think the appropriate human life expectancy goal should be today in 2025? Most people say something like 90, 95, right? Subjectively, based on their past experiences. Let me tell you, to me, that's way too low and that's wrong. Why is that? Number one, these numbers you see here, they're averages. What does average mean? It means you pass. Doesn't mean you're doing that well. Number two, if you think about the 90, 95-year-olds that we recently lost, they lived through the times like 1950s, eras when healthcare was primitive compared to what we have today, right? They didn't have AI diagnostics. They don't even have insulin, nor Hep B vaccines, and they lived that long. Actually, the longest living person on record got to 122 years, and she was born in 1875. Again, primitive times. And if you go to Hong Kong today, one person out of every 1,000 people lives up to more than 100. So we're actually living longer than we think. And current science tells us the maximum capacity naturally for the human body, the lifespan is probably around 120 to 150. So if you ask me what the goal should be, I'm telling you, it should be at least 120. That's a much more logical target to aim for. And it is certainly reachable today for you, the people of the future. Now, also consider some of these statistics. So Chinese entrepreneurs, unfortunately, die young. Reports show below 60. Most likely it's just hard life. American entrepreneurs actually live longer than the average American citizen. However, it is the past American presidents and the Chinese leaders that live the longest, on average well beyond the 90s. Why is that? It's very simple. Because behind the presidents and the Chinese leaders, they all have a professional team of experts managing health for them. Health can be managed. Take Brian Johnson, for example, right? This multimillionaire from America, he spends $2 million a year on anti-aging for himself. He has about 20 experts behind him, supporting him, and he's self-proclaimed the healthiest man on earth. Well, the fact is he does age 30 to 40% slower than the average person. So he's doing pretty well, right? Now, you might not be a multimillionaire, you might not be a head of state, but you don't have to be. Today, if you only have 10 minutes to teach you how to live to 120, I will keep it very simple and very short. But it's not a specific number that anybody can promise to hit. It's more of a range that we aim for, and then we fall somewhere in between. So for Mr. Average Joe, If his lower and upper limits of his life expectancy is set at 60 and 90, then his average life expectancy of 75 would make sense, yeah? So if we want to live longer, what do? We have to move that entire range upwards. Does that make sense? Okay. So in a nutshell, here are the 3 steps. Number 1, collect the data, right? Take your annual health exam seriously. That's the baseline. What do we do with that data? Step 2, we got to figure out all the health risks that basically will make you live less. And we try to eliminate them so thus we can raise the lower limit of our life expectancy. And in step 3, through proper lifestyle changes and technology, then we further increase both the lower and upper limits. It's that simple. Okay. Now let's take a closer look. So we have to look at the data and not by guessing. Okay. Let me be clear. Longevity does not start with expensive testing. It starts with awareness. Get what you can, use what you can. For example, again, the annual health exams, that's a baseline. At least it'll give us that to help you, right? An annual LDCT of the lungs can find tiny risky lesions. Even a $100 wearable, we can know if you're sleeping enough or getting enough exercise, right? You don't have to start with a really expensive whole body MRI. Now, my clients do get annual full body MRIs. They also do the multi-omic testing, VO2 max, microbiome, the works. That's the presidential protocol, okay? Now, whether you have a $100,000 expensive professional health management plan or a $100 wearable, it doesn't matter. The point is you start measuring and stop guessing, right? So step 2, why we want all that data is because we want to know about your health risks. We want to eliminate them as many as we can, as fast as we can, so that we can elevate the lower limits of your life expectancy. What are those limits? Well, here we are. For example, hypertension, right? Diabetes, cancer, dementia. If we solve these problems, we pretty much solve 90% of the problem. So if you have diabetes or high blood pressure, please don't take them lightly. They are slowly eating away your years. And about cancer, because most people are afraid of that, I just want to mention that technically, most cancers are curable if found early enough to be treated, okay? So the way I look at cancer is the right risk mitigation is through a solid screening protocol, okay? So as you can see, in step 2, it involves finding out your risks, solve chronic diseases, screen for cancer, and getting treatment when needed, all of which require medical professionals. So I advise you to get a good doctor to help you navigate through step 2. Now, if we can do all that and we, increase our lower limit to, say, 90 years old, then we move on to step 3. I mean, if you cannot even make it past 60 or 70, there's no point talking about 120, right? So in step 3, there's 2 parts. Part 1 is lifestyle changes and part 2 is technology. Before we get into technology, we talk about lifestyle changes because we have to have a strong foundation. Technology is not magic. Only when we have a strong body, a strong foundation, can technology be used to better add on top. So modern science, we actually know why we age. It comes down to about 14 of these cellular or molecular changes that we call the hallmarks of aging. For example, your telomere shortening, right? Genomic instability, exhaustion of your stem cells, etc. What's interesting is that these factors are greatly influenced by how you live your life, more than you believe. So we have to go back to the basics. Now, about how you eat, how you exercise, how you sleep, I don't have the time or the necessity to go into detail here today. Why? Because all this information you can find online via ChatGPT or DeepSeek, right? So I'll just give you a few quick tips about how you eat. 3 things. Number 1, take your fist as a portion. Every meal you can eat 2 portions of vegetables, 1 portion of protein like meats, and then 1 portion of carbs like rice or potatoes in that specific order every meal you can. 2, take a 15-minute walk after each meal to continue to decrease those glucose spikes. 3, try intermittent fasting. Eat within an 8-hour window every day. You just do 3 of these simple things and it will change your life. Exercise, how you move. Okay, I cannot stress enough. This is by far one of the most important things you can do for longevity, okay? And it's about muscle mass. So playing ping pong and walking is great, but it's not enough for longevity. You have to build muscle. Research shows that a 5 centimeter increase in your thighs circumference equals about 18% reduction in all-cause mortality risk. So that means the bigger your thighs, the longer you live. Why is that? Because besides your heart and your lungs, your muscle is the next most important organ for you in terms of longevity. Okay, so if you want to live long, besides doing those cardio or those runs, do some strength training. 3, sleep. A lot of people always ask me this question: how long do we sleep? There is a sweet spot, and that's between 7 to 8 hours. For those people who continue to sleep under 5 hours a day, your all-cause mortality risk goes out about 16%. So if you don't sleep, you're actually killing yourself slowly. So please get about 7 to 8 hours of sleep every day. And then last but not least, mental health. Because cortisol damage is as real as cholesterol. All right. So research also shows that a person who is under constant stress will induce telomere shortening by as much as, say, a decade of aging. So stay away from negativity and stress, right? We want love, friendship, and just live a good life. I've seen billionaires with pretty good lab reports fall apart just simply due to mental stress. Now, if you do all these above correctly, then most likely you will be able to live alive and healthy for the next 10 to 15 years. That is crucial. Why is that? Now we come to the last step, step 3, part 2, technology. In the next decade, we're going to see an even greater jump in terms of technology advancement. Okay, this is where technology accelerates. We're already using AI for diagnostics and also for like MRI and CTs. AI has also sped up R&D. For example, I don't know if you've heard the technology AlphaFold. Okay, AlphaFold figured out the structure of 200 million proteins in weeks. This is technically an endeavor that will take all the scientists in the world 1,000 years to accomplish. And this AI did it in weeks. So which means in the next few years, we're going to have a lot of new drugs being developed and cure a lot of diseases that we never thought possible. Doctors are even working on cancer vaccines as we speak. With gene editing, 20 years ago, we figured out the human genome. It cost like billions of dollars. Now we can edit the gene and play God and cure genetic disorders. With nanotechnology, teams in the US and China were working on tiny nanobots to put inside you to remove plaque in your vessels and to combat tumors. Now, with stem cells in regenerative medicine, one of the biggest turning points came in 2006 when scientists figured out how to change regular blood cells into what we call induced pluripotent stem cells. iPSCs are basically universal cells that can become any cell in the human body. You understand, pluripotent stem cells exist naturally only in the first month of the human embryonic development, not in the adults. So you can understand this technology is kind of like turning back in time on a cellular level. And this technology made it possible for scientists to rebuild the human body from itself. And in 2012, it won Shinya Yamanaka the Nobel Prize. Since then, it has been going on heavy R&D. By 2024 and 2025 today, Chinese teams have already used the technology to cure type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. You heard correctly, cured, no more insulin. In Japan, they're even using this technology to make heart patches, beating pieces of heart tissue that's placed onto damaged hearts after the heart attack, and we see great clinical results. Doctors are also using this technology for what? For Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, paralysis, blindness, everything. And we believe in about 15 years, maybe with the addition of 3D ball printing, we might be able to print entire organs in a lab. So think about this. In the near future, instead of waiting for a donor organ, you just go to the clinic and swap in a new liver or a new heart, like car parts, right? Isn't that amazing? Now, all these technologies I talked about, they're already here. This is not a sci-fi movie, it's already here. Brand new organs in a lab, not yet. We still have some technical difficulties to overcome, but they are coming. And a lot of these technologies are going to be really expensive at first, but like with any technology, when it's mature and readily available, it'll be really cheap. With genomic testing, it was like a few $1 billion 20 years ago. Now it's like $100, right? So what we need to do is we need to stay alive and healthy through those first 3 steps the best we can to stay alive for the next 10 to 50 years. And we wait for these technologies to come out and reap the benefits, right? Understand? So do you guys know why now I say 120 years? It's not that hard, okay? The point of this talk today is not to live forever. The point is, how do we live a long and enjoyable life? I'm telling you, the first person to live to 125 is already alive today. Heck, we might even have a future 125 in this room. Do you want it to be you? You want to live a long, healthy life? If you do, get off your couch and just follow those 3 simple steps. It's not that hard. 1, collect the data. Take your health exam seriously. 2, find out all your risks and try to eliminate them. Get a good doctor to help you navigate along the way. 3, eat right, sleep well, exercise, build muscle, and just be happy. You do all these things correctly, you live through the next 10 to 15 years properly, like you want to keep your body for 120 years, and I promise you, science will meet you halfway. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you all a long and enjoyable life, and I'll see you at the 120 finish line. Thank you.